Hello everyone and welcome to Around the Clock. My co-host Yolanda Graves. I'm Mark Jewett and it's the first day of spring today, Yolanda.
That's right. Happy spring.
And my wardrobe is brought to you by Woolrich because I still have a very heavy sweater on because it's really not that nice out here.
It was still chilly this morning.
Yes, it was. But
it will be warmer this afternoon though.
Yes, hopefully. So it's March 20th, 2014. Our show today will be our Selectmen update from last night's meeting. We'll have our Ask the Clock segment. We have a special contest we're going to announce. Our special guest today is Brian Garrigan, the Guidance Department Liaison at Ashland High School, and he's going to talk about the college season and scholarships and financial aid and some other things. And then, Yolanda, you're going to have the opportunity to interview Roberta Sulman, the chair of the Ashland Open Space and Recreation Committee.
Yes.
And they have quite a bit going on.
Yep.
So then we'll be around the clock tour. We're going to go visit the community center again for the St. Patrick's Day luncheon put on by the Friends of the Council on Aging. And then we'll have our final second segment where we have some exciting final roundup for the show.
And also talk about all the great things that are coming up in the next couple of weeks here in town.
That's right. So we'll be right back after this message. Stick with us around the clock. All right, welcome back to Around the Clock. So Yolanda, last night we had our selectmen meeting and once again a fairly full agenda. We had a fairly decent crowd there too. A couple of big points with the chief's visit and the discussion on Warren Woods. But why don't you walk us through the highlights?
Sure. So the evening started on a very positive note with Christine Broder from the town hall regarding the reissuing of some long-term bonds that we had and how with our new credit rating of AA+, we were able to reduce the interest rates and saving the town a fair amount of money in regards to what the bonds were at and the amount and the interest rate and then where they are now. So that information will be up on the website for people to get more detail. I think spewing a lot of numbers right now won't help, but but there was a significant decrease in our interest rate. Some of them were over 4%, and we're at just about 2% right now. So that was nice to see. We had a little appreciation for Martin Rowitz, who used to own the malt shop, which is in the Shaw's Shopping Plaza. He had been in town doing business for 25 years and had done a lot of stuff for the town. So it was nice to get to recognize him, and I think he was surprised and humbled by it.
And it was interesting that he actually, through some work he did with then Representative David Mignani, brought the first combined liquor license to Ashland. There was not one before that, so that's sort of a little bit of history.
Yeah. And then we had a presentation from Lisa McIntosh from Woodard and Curran. This is the continuing discussion about Warren Woods and the arsenic and, we as a board having to make a decision as to what we're going to do about the arsenic and the mitigation and just what we want to do with that land up there. So that was a good discussion. And then we finished with Chief Davis giving us an update on all the great things that the police department is doing, the number of grants that they've received, and how they keep going out for more grants. And as I've said to people, anytime we can get a grant, it's just our tax dollars coming back to us. So it's nice to see people doing that and helping the townspeople of Ashland sort of get a return on their investment. I mean, not that taxes are an investment, but certainly a return on some of their funds. And then one of the things he really brought home was the heroin issue that's going on. We hear about it statewide. In certain towns like Taunton and Fall River, they've had some real issues, but believe it or not, we're seeing it here in Ashland as well. Yes. We've had some deaths. We've had some people. Fortunately, there is a drug called Narcan that our firefighters have been using, and Chief Davis, with a grant, is in the process of getting our police officers trained how to use that drug as well, so that if they arrive someplace before an EMT can get there, they can administer this drug that will help a person start breathing again if they've stopped breathing because of a heroin overdose. So that was good to hear. And that he's working with our Decisions at Every Turn committee to go out, and they're going to be talking to all the different grades at the high school to let kids know that this is real and it can happen the first time that you try heroin, and so that was good to hear. And then we just had some further discussion. We talked further about the Board of Selectmen scholarship that we're looking to do. We've just about finalized that, so hopefully at our next meeting we'll finalize that discussion, get that information out, and that'll be a scholarship, 2 scholarships, probably 1 male, 1 female, to all graduating seniors who reside or their home address is Ashland.
That's right.
So for parents, if your kids aren't here in school, have them go check it out after our next meeting. It'll be up on our website, and we'll also get it to the school's website.
And Mr. Garrigan will talk about more
Exactly.
financial aid opportunities in his segment today.
Yeah, because I think for kids nowadays and families, college is getting very expensive, and the more opportunity they can reach out for scholarships and get some assistance in paying for it is a good thing. We went a little bit, had more discussion about the McGill family recognition. At our last meeting, we had members of the McGill family come to us, and so we've decided that the corner right there by the corner pub will be named the McGill family corner, I think we had said. So that decision was made last night. You know, and then some other little things, some project we talked about and voted on the project funding because we had our election on Tuesday. So for the school building, the roof projects, it did pass at the ballot, so that was good to hear. So we can move forward with those projects. They'll go out to bid now, and the goal is that they'll be able to start them the minute school ends in June, so that they'll hopefully be done, if not completely, most of the way before school starts in August. So there'll be no real impact on the students. And we got an update on the fiscal 15 budget process. It's been quite an ordeal. You and I are part of a group called Liaison Committee, which is a combination of 2 members of the Board of Selectmen, 2 members of School Committee, 2 members from Finance Committee, and then Town Manager, Assistant Town Manager, and Superintendent and Assistant Superintendent. And there's been some really good discussion and dialogue there, looking at the budget and how can we get to 0? And it's been very painful getting. We are at 0, but it's been it's a balanced budget. It's a balanced budget. So. But it's been painful getting there. So.
And I think it has been a little painful, I guess that's a good word, but it's been a very productive process, very collaborative process, and I think the folks are going to get to see how that worked at the State of the Town meeting coming up soon.
Right, that's April 15th at the high school at 7 o'clock. Yeah, so it'll give people the first chance to sort of see what's going on with the budget and just get an update. We feel that, you know, in talking with Tony, getting some new management in, the schools do it. The schools have always done a State of the School address, and it was decided that, well, let's combine forces and do a State of the Town address. So there'll be representation of both the schools and general government at that meeting, at that session on April 15th at the high school. And then just, you know, talking about town meeting, and the other big thing coming up is the Route 126 Community Forum. That's happening on Tuesday, March 25th at the Warren School. There's signs up now. I saw one on Pond Street and downtown, so letting people know that that forum's happening. General session is at like 5 o'clock, but if you want to sit down and be part of the discussion, if you're there by 7. So that was good.
And then there was one thing I did want to bring up as part of the chief talked about at length all the different initiatives and improvements that are going on at the police station, which is very exciting to hear, and sort of how they're doing with filling the personnel slots, and they've got some real good folks in, both on the full-time officer side and the volunteer side,
the auxiliary group.
Auxiliary side. But he did talk about the upcoming marathon, Boston Marathon, and some variety of security measures that are going to be put into place, as well as a voluntary ban on backpacks and coolers. That should be sort of a challenging arrangement, I think. You know, he did explain that it is voluntary, and that all the towns along the route are asking folks not to come with a backpack or a cooler, and of course that in essence is sort of a family day event where you show up with your kids, your stroller, your cooler, your backpack with your sweatshirts. So it could be a challenge for the local offices to deal with, and the town will try to start putting the word out and ask everyone's cooperation to try and make it work out that day, and you know, in respect for what happened unfortunately last year.
Right, and I think it's good for people to realize that we don't want you to change necessarily. That, you know, please come and support it and be there. There's, you know, for all the runners and for the reasons that you've always gone, because it's such a community event. You see your neighbors, you see your friends, you know, you see the people running by that you know, or, you know, are part of the community. And, you know, we have our runners that are running with numbers from the town to help support our BAA grant program and things like that. But just be aware of what you're bringing, and be aware of people around you that being maybe a little bit more uncomfortable with seeing extra bags because of what happened. I think it's just being sensitive, and, you know, we're here as a community, so let's support each other as best as we can.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to move along to our Ask the Clock segment.
Okay.
And as hopefully our viewers know, or if you're a first-time viewer, if you have a question for Yolanda or I on anything we talk about, or anything that might be going on around town, or you've got an idea for us for a segment, you can send that to Ashlyn. At Ashlyn Around the Clock.
It's a very long email address, so.
Ashlyn Around the Clock at gmail.com, so please feel free to reach out to us. And we have had some questions about potholes recently, because it's that time of year in New England. And we've, you know, obviously we've sent out the information that you can contact the DPW and Mr. Manoogian in downtown. So if you see a pothole, then they'll take care of it. But we're going to run a little contest.
Yes.
So if you see a pothole, we would encourage you to use your smart device, very fancy camera, or whatever you use. Take a picture of that, identify where it is, send it to us. We'll send it along to Dave at the DPW yard. And if you have the most exciting, biggest, craziest looking pothole, you'll win a prize from us here at Around the Clock.
Or the most creative picture showing us that pothole.
That could be part of the criteria too. So Ashlyn Around the Clock at gmail.com. Send in your pothole pictures, and you could be a lucky winner.
Well, thanks for being with us. We are going to be right back with Mark's discussion with Brian Garrigan, the head of the Ashland High School Guidance Department. Stay with us.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Around the Clock. Today's special guest is Brian Garrigan. Brian is the Guidance Department Liaison at Ashland High School. Welcome aboard.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Oh, it's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. So I remember when I was in high school, a very long time ago, you can tell, and you know, we'd go down to guidance once every 3 or 4 years, and usually try and stay out of there. It was usually a bad thing to go. What's the modern guidance department like today?
Mark, my guidance counselor in high school was my basketball coach, and yeah, I agree. I remember those days. You didn't want to go down there. It's a lot different these days. Guidance counselors are teachers these days. The guidance counselors at Ashland High School teach seminars to 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. We have a curriculum. And so they see an awful lot of us. We have individual appointments with 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, as well as teaching classes to all of them. So it's a very different kind of thing than it was back, you know, back in the day.
And I understand you're connected with the SAD program also.
That's right. I'm the advisor to Students Against Destructive Decisions at the high school, which embraces kids who make decisions to not use drugs and alcohol. Other kinds of things too. We've done events on awareness about distracted driving, other kinds of just being sensible and making good choices.
So I think from a parent's view, most parents look at the guidance office as someplace their kids go around college time. So it's getting to be that time of year.
It sure is. It sure is. You know, in our part of Massachusetts, the Metro West area, kids are, I tell the kids all the time, they're really fortunate. They live in a community where their kids kind of expect them to continue their education after high school. 90% of Ashland High School grads continue their education formally after they leave high school. You know, I worked in Vermont. Some folks know that I'm a retired guidance counselor in Vermont. I spent 25 years in the Connecticut River Valley, a little town called Bradford, Vermont. And less than half of the kids that graduate from that community continue their education. So we kind of take it for granted here that we're going to continue our education after high school. I ask the freshmen when I meet them and introduce myself to them, you know, if they ever remembered a time when they ever thought they wouldn't continue their education, and they don't, because they're kind of brought up to consider that as an option. You know, and there's all kinds of other fantastic options that aren't necessarily formal college right here in the community as well. There's community college, there's trade and tech schools, and we have Keefe Tech for adults. And so, you know, we can talk a little bit about that as the program goes. But you're right. Seniors are in the process of making their choices for next year. Colleges expect them to respond by May 1st. And so they're getting their financial aid award letters, and they're making their final decisions. Juniors are getting amped up. We had college night for juniors last week. There's college fairs that are all over this part of Massachusetts coming up in the next couple of months. So yeah, things are really hitting a peak for seniors, and they're just getting geared up pretty seriously for juniors.
So that is a good point. You know, if the kids are making their applications and getting their letters, and parents are starting to fret about funding.
Indeed.
I know the selectmen are currently working on developing a scholarship for a young woman and young man at the high school. What's the sort of the process if you're interested? I know there's different types of scholarships that you can go through the office to apply in.
Indeed. Families that are going to be applying for different kinds of financial aid should fill out the FAFSA form, which means free application for federal student aid, as soon as they can in January. So this year's seniors, their families should have done that. They should have completed their FAFSA form. That's used to determine the student's eligibility for need-based financial aid. And need-based financial aid comes from the federal government. It comes from the colleges themselves. Beyond that, there are an infinite number of scholarships that kids and families might consider. I always coach folks to apply for scholarships locally first, within their own high school. We broker a myriad number of local community-based scholarships that are awarded usually around graduation time. We have a file of those on our website, on the guidance department website, and so kids can either access them online, or they can come into the guidance office and access hard copies of local community-based scholarships. Those are the ones that have the best odds of success. They're the smallest applicant pools, and kids are urged to look there first, right to their local community. Beyond that, there are state-based scholarships and national-based scholarships. There's a fantastic website. It's called FastWeb. It's the largest clearinghouse of national database clearinghouse. But I tell kids and families, if you've got time after applying for and researching local scholarships, then go after those much larger pool databases. But yep, tis the season.
Of course. So we hear a lot of good news about the high school and performance there. What is sort of the trends for kids going to college out of Ashland High School nowadays?
Well, we have kids going to colleges at all levels. We've got kids in the Ivy League right now, and we've got kids right next door at FSU, and everything in between. You know, one of the things I try and discuss with kids and families is the fact that they do have a lot more options than traditional four-year college. Some kids would be much better advised to go to a junior college or a community college, or what I like to call 2+2 colleges. 2+2 colleges are colleges where you can earn an associate's degree prior to earning your bachelor's degree. So if biting off 4 years at once might be a little too much for some folks, you have a credential to show after 2 years. And so I don't know that those are considered strongly enough. I like them a lot. We have excellent career training at Keefe Tech for students who may have missed their calling at Keefe entering as a freshman in high school. It's one of the few regional technical centers that do this. Most regional tech centers don't have opportunities for graduates or students with high school diplomas. Our own does, and it's an incredible opportunity because it's $500, Mark. For all of the career and trade programs that are taught at Keefe, almost all of them are available to postgraduates. And private technical and trade schools sometimes cost tens of thousands of dollars. And we have this opportunity right in our own backyard for almost no investment Again, I don't know that folks consider those seriously enough or weigh their value seriously enough, but these are some things we offer as well. We have those representatives come into school before the end of the year for our seniors and our underclassmen to take a look at. So there's fantastic opportunity. You know, I worked in a rural community for 25 years, and those kinds of options just weren't there in a rural community.
So you talked about, you can see the scholarship opportunities on the website. Are the sort of the seminars and the forums for schools, and I know there's a workshop coming up for you know, what
Naviance. Yeah, last night we did Naviance training for parents. Naviance is the software that we use. Our work in our seminars kind of focuses around the Naviance software. Naviance is software that in early grades, early high school grades, 9th and 10th graders, focuses on self-awareness. That leads us to consideration of different kinds of careers. That then leads us to how different college majors relate to various careers, and that then in turn relates to which colleges have those areas of study. So it's a progression. We start learning about ourselves, then we learn about careers in the world of work, then we learn about different college majors that relate to those careers, and then we learn where to find those college majors. And that's a progression from 9th right through 12th grade. So we use that software with all high school kids in our seminars. The software itself is actually called the Family Connection. And it's best used when mom and dad are involved with it. We have only so much time and so many hours to devote to getting good with this software. And like I tell the kids, I ask them to remember the first time they played a video game. And how did they do when they played a video game the first time? And they always tell me I was pretty bad. And well, what made you good? Well, I kept doing it. It's the same with this software. The more it's used by both students and parents, the more you understand the logic and the way the software works, and the more, just as a video game, you become at one with the software, and it works best for those that really make an investment in it.
Great, great. So at this point, we usually like to ask our special guests if there's something that they want to connect to with our community, if there's a special topic or thought that you think it's important for the folks at home to know about.
I think what's little understood is the fact that my department, the guidance department at Ashland High School, and all high school guidance departments, don't end. Those services don't end when the student graduates from high school. We're available to the community, to moms and dads and recent graduates, and maybe not so recent graduates who are maybe at a crossroads or trying to determine their next move in terms of developing, you know, their lives and their professional careers. So it might mean help navigating some of the resources at the college they're at. It might mean getting some help with a career move. It might mean just learning where the resources are that are going to help them get from point A to point B. But I'd really like the community to be aware that they can call their high school guidance counselor. If their high school guidance counselor is long gone because we're a little bit older than a recent high school grad, call me. Call me. I'm the department head, and I'm glad to help folks in the community who are looking to better themselves or just need some help identifying some resources. So that's the message I'd like to give.
All right, great. Well, thank you. It's Brian Garrigan. He's the Guidance Department Liaison at the Ashland High School. Please check out the guidance website for information on scholarship and financial aid, and we appreciate you coming down, Brian.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, so please stick around to Around the Clock. Yolanda will be right back with her interview of Roberta Suhlman, Committee Chair for the Open Space and Recreation Group here in Ashland. Stay tuned.
What can compare with the thrill of a brand new bike? Those long days of wishing and waiting are finally over, and the proud new owner can look forward to enjoying his bike in many ways. Cars, trucks, buses, and bicycles, all are vehicles. All must obey the traffic laws. Keep to the right side of the road or street. That side is for slowly moving vehicles. When riding in a group, ride in single file at the extreme right of the roadway. Be sure to keep a safe distance behind the bike ahead of you. This is Johnny's dad coming home with the groceries. Johnny's been trying to get his allowance raised. Poor Johnny, if he'd only remembered to put that bike away. As a good, safe bicyclist, you'll be respected by the people of your community, for you are proving to your friends and neighbors that bicycling can be both fun and safe.
Hi, and welcome back to Around the Clock. We are moving into our committee chair segment, and with us we have Roberta Suleman. Thank you for coming, Roberta.
Thank you for having me.
From Ashland's Open Space and Recreation Committee. Tell us a little bit about what you do with the committee itself, and then we can talk about some of the great things your committee's doing.
Sure. Our committee is charged with protecting and preserving open space in Ashland and trying to expand and enhance recreational opportunities, and not organized team sports. Those are done by the youth sports and the school recreation department, but other things that people would do individually or with friends or in a non-organized way.
Okay, good. So what are some of the things that your committee is currently working on?
We have a number of really exciting projects going on. Our Riverwalk is finally going to the Conservation Commission on April 14th for permitting. The abutters will be notified. There'll be one hearing and then a walk with the Conservation Commission folks, and then a second hearing. And we're permitting the entire walk so that we're free to do it as money comes up.
And can you give us a little, where is the Riverwalk? What does it entail? Because we may know what it is, but our viewers may not know what that means.
We're trying to enhance accessibility to the shores of the Sudbury River.
Okay.
And it's in several phases, and the first phase is going to be down behind the dog kennel, the town's dog kennel, so that we can make a handicapped accessible trail there, establish some handicap parking, widen the trail, even it out, bring the trail to the river, and establish an observation deck with seating for people. So it'll be one of the few places in town, one of the few trails where people who have some mobility handicap can actually get there.
And that's the kennel that's off of Ponderosa Road?
Right.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, and where will that Riverwalk go eventually? What's the pathway?
It also will include an extension of the trail around Mill Pond, and it will hopefully, the bridges cost a lot of money, but hopefully we'll be able to put a bridge out into the pond, and we'll also be able to put a bridge across the river behind the VFW.
Nice, nice. So some really nice initiative, and once that gets going. Great. So, and what else are you working on?
Well, we also have the Upper Charles Trail project that's is a regional collaboration among 5 towns. Hopkinton, Holliston, Sherborne, Milford, and Ashland. And it's a multi-use trail to connect all of those towns together. And in Ashland, what we're trying to connect is the train station, the 2 state parks, Stone Park, the high school, the middle school, connect all of them, and then also make sure it's connected to the other towns, to Sherborne to the east, and then to Holliston and Hopkinton and Milford. And it's multi-use, so it'll be for walking, maybe for skiing in the winter time, for biking, for skateboarding, for biking certainly, and it's a great initiative. It'll use part of the Bay Circuit Trail. And
nice. Now you just had a big session regarding the Upper Charles Trail.
Right. It was sponsored
last week.
It was sponsored by the Friends of the Upper Charles Trail. It was at the Ashland Community Center. It was packed with people. It was wonderfully received. The chair of the Milford Selectmen spoke about how initially he was not in favor of the project in his town, but he was totally won over and is really enthusiastic about it. There was a woman who spoke. She owns a business in Lexington that's near the head of the Minuteman Trail.
Yep.
And she talked about how it was an economic boon, not only to her business, but to the other businesses in downtown Lexington. So we're looking at this as a way to support recreation, a way to support open space, and a way to make Ashland a recreation destination and have it begin to drive economic development in town.
Now, a lot of people will know these as the rail trails because they're based on old railroad tracks. But if I'm correct, here in Ashland, that's not necessarily the case, right?
Right.
Because we don't have a railroad track that's not being used.
Right. We're trying to keep the trail as much off the road as possible so that young children and mothers with strollers and things will be encouraged to use it. Sherborne in particular has a challenge because where they need to put it, some of the rail trail is active still.
Yeah.
So, you know, and every town has had similar yet different challenges. There have been wetland problems and, you know, all kinds of things, creative engineering, you know, to get some of it done. So.
Well, there's a lot of creative energy here in Ashland, so I'm sure it won't be too much of an issue to figure out where we can put it. And I know a lot of time and effort has already been going into it, so that's great to hear.
Right, and if anyone's interested in it, the Ashland Bike Club has been taking a lead role in coordinating with the other towns, and their email address is ashlandbikeclub@gmail.com.
Good, and you'll see it here below us as we're talking, the Ashland Bike Club information. Good. There was a couple of, and what are some other things that you're working on that you'd like to let us know about?
Well, our open space and recreation plan is due for an update.
Okay.
And that was the plan that was state approved and made us eligible for the $500,000 land grant that helped to purchase Warren Woods.
Right.
So we want to be able to stay eligible for state grants for different open space projects. So we'll be we are looking to get some consulting help with that. We put a grant into MAPC, and we're waiting to hear about that to see if we can, you know, update the plan. And there's lots of public involvement in that. We had multiple public forums. We had a draft that was at the library for over a month the last time we did it for public comment. So it's really important that people have a chance to comment on where we are with what we set as our goals, you know, 7 years ago, and what they want to see us do moving forward, because the landscape in town certainly changes.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. And how long do you think that process will be to get that plan? When are you going to start it, and then how long to complete it?
We're hoping to hear from MAPC by the end of the month and start soon after that if we're successful with that grant. And we'd like to finish by the end of the calendar year, you know, and hopefully we'll be able to do that.
Good. And any events coming up for open space and recreation?
Well, we're part of Green Up Ashland Day, and we do a lot of outreach in the community. So we'll have a table there, and we encourage people to come by and see us. And we also do Ashland Day and all kinds of other events around town. We were at the farmers market when that starts up. So you know, we look forward to having a chance to talk to people, see what's on their minds, see what they like to do, what projects they're enjoying, and get a chance to engage people.
And is your committee looking for any new volunteers or people to get involved?
We have, well, our committee is we don't have any vacancies on the committee, but we do have trail cleanup days during the year. Okay. And as soon as the snow is gone, hopefully gone, not to return for a while, we'll be scheduling some cleanup days. And if people are not already on our mailing list and they're interested, they can contact us at info@ashlandopenspace.org. And we can, we'd be happy to have more volunteers for any other trail cleanup work.
Good, good. And do you guys do like the town? What are some of the areas that you do trail cleanup for?
We have done around Mill Pond, the Sudbury River, the Bay Circuit, various parts of the Bay Circuit Trail. We've worked with the Town Forest Committee and done parts of the Town Forest. So basically, it's pretty much any place.
Any open space in Ashland that needs to be cleaned up.
Right, that has a trail. We work on that. So
good. Well, before we let you go, I like to ask committee chairs or just any people that we come in, is there anything about you, and I should have prepped you, I usually prep people, that people may not know that you'd like to share? Something about Roberta that people may not know?
Sure, I'll tell people about my work. I'm the Director of Literacy Volunteers of Massachusetts, which is a nonprofit organization that has a statewide presence, 12 locations, and we train volunteers to provide free tutoring to adults in basic literacy or in conversational English if they can't speak English. So we work with adults for whom English is their primary language, and we also work with adults who are new to this country who are just learning how to speak English.
That's great.
And we have a program at the Framingham Library that has a long waiting list, so if anyone would like to volunteer to tutor, you know, they can contact me at info@lvm.org, and I'd be happy to put them in touch with a local program.
Great. And then before we go, is there anything just you would like to say to the community? Any last words?
I hope that you'll participate actively in the Open Space and Recreation Plan renewal. We always, as I said, need volunteers for the trail cleanup days. And if you're walking your dog in Warren Woods, please pick up after your dog.
Well,
That's
actually,
the only other
if you're
thing.
walking your dog anywhere in Ashland, please
yes.
pick up after your dog.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely.
Good. Well, Roberta, thank you for being with me today. It was great talking to
Thank you.
And as we wrap up this segment, I'd just like to let you know that when we come back, we'll be going to our Around the Clock segment. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back.
People think that Henry Warren invented the electric clock. Henry Warren did not invent the electric clock. What he invented was the first electric clock that kept proper time.
He was brilliant. He could look at something and see the solution. Most people have to work towards the solution. He could see it.
On May 21st, 1872, Henry Ellis Warren was born in Boston, Massachusetts.
When I was growing up, I just remember Henry as always wearing powder blue sneakers. And, you know, as a kid, that struck me as odd that, you know, a very distinguished gentleman wearing a suit would be wearing powder blue sneakers, but that's what he did. And he had this great, probably 1950, 52 Oldsmobile that was powder blue.
I think he lived very simply for a person that was so really famous, you know, famous in his time.
He was clearly blessed with the intellect that's only held by a few people.
He knew how to get things done, and he knew how to solve problems.
Well, welcome back to Around the Clock. It's been great speaking with Brian Garrigan and Roberta Sullman. We are now going into our Around the Town on Around the Clock. Have a couple different places we'd like to take you. Our first stop is the Senior Center, where Mark Jewett was able to enjoy the new van and some St. Patrick's Day food. Tell us about it, Mark.
Yes, I was at the Senior Center this past Monday, and the first big event was Senator Karen Spilka and Ed Carr, the Executive Director for MWRTA, Metro West Regional Transit Association.
There you go.
Presented the Senior Center with a brand new van for the seniors. Brand new van, very nice. Along with Senator Spilka and ED Mr. Carr was our very own Steve Mitchell. He's our selectman representative on the committee, the liaison committee to MWRTA. So they pulled up with the van. All the seniors came out of the center who were there for the St. Patrick's Day lunch, and I'll talk about that in a minute. They toured the van, checked it out. Gabe, the driver, checked it out. Very exciting. Folks probably don't know, but the vehicles that we had were sort of run down and beat up, and we needed a new vehicle. And Steve and Senator Spilka approached Mr. Carr, and they worked out an arrangement so the seniors could have a new vehicle. It's a very nice, large van, so not a regular van, so the transport
full-size
bus van.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to use that to take folks to events, run them around town, etc. So very exciting. Our thanks go out to the MWRTA, and if you don't notice, those buses run all around Ashland now, so you can go on their website and check out the pickup schedule, and you can get around town. They have a little pass you can buy, so it's a very convenient service. So
Well, let's head to the senior center
Let's
and
go down
see what it's
there.
all about.
We'll check out the corned beef too. It's very delicious. All right, hi, this is Mark Jewett. I'm down at the community center here at Around the Clock, and we're celebrating the new van for the seniors. I'm here with our Senator Karen Spilker and Ed Carr from MWRTA. Very exciting day today, Karen.
Oh, it is. It's wonderful. This will be a tremendous boost for our seniors here in Ashland.
And Ed, you're the man behind the action here. Can you give us a little story on what happened to get the van to Ashland?
Well, Senator Spilker came knocking at my door a few months ago and said, you know, Ashland's 2 vehicles that they currently have are in really tough shape. Is there anything that you think we can do? So we worked together and we identified some sources and resources, and here it is. So you have your senator and your representative to the board, Steve Mitchell, to thank for this.
All right, we know Steve's out schmoozing with the seniors. We're here at the Friends of the Council of Aging St. Patty's Day luncheon, so it's already in high gear here.
Right.
The folks have their desserts and they're getting ready for some corned beef and cabbage on the table. So,
Thank you.
hi, I'm here with Gabe McGarry. Gabe's the van driver at the senior center. You got a nice new van today, Gabe.
Yes, I did. Beautiful van.
What do you think? You drove it over here from the pickup spot? Or?
No, I haven't driven it yet. No, not yet.
Who drove it over here from the middle school?
Mr. Carr.
Oh, from MWRTA.
Yeah.
So you're looking forward to spinning around on that baby?
Oh, yeah. I'll try it out this afternoon.
Well, I have to say the corned beef was excellent.
I'm sorry I missed it.
All right, and a little shout out to Chief Davis, who I sat with at the table, and we enjoyed lunch, and we talked about freezing our butts off at the half marathon. So I did a little volunteer work and was managing traffic, and the chief came over to make sure I was doing it properly.
And again, I'm sorry I couldn't be there to help, but I did stop by. It was great to see the volunteers that were there and just the amount of runners. Though, as you said, it was a little chilly, so they didn't get quite the response, or not everyone who registered wound up coming.
Yeah, I think they had a little over 500 they expected. They had over 700 registered, and it was a little frosty. But we've got some footage of that event, and our reporters Dan Baker and Peter Chisholm were there, and of course, excellent footage from our journeyman cameraman, Brennan Marlowe. So check this out.
All roads lead to Ashland. It all started here, and it starts for all of you here today.
Hi, I'm here again with Bill Rogers, who's a regular at Ashland Races. We want to welcome you back again.
Thank you, Steve. And you know, Steve Greenberg, who kicked things off here in Ashland to give recognition to the city of Ashland for the fact that the Boston Marathon began here in 1897 and was run here for a quarter of a century, and to recognize the champions and their families and the volunteers and the people of Ashland and the BAA who helped bring the Boston Marathon to America as one of our greatest international sports events and a global event, really. So he's really bringing that history to life, I think, through these races that are now happening here in Ashland. Today it's the half marathon.
It is. It's great. He has a race earlier in the year during the fall, and now this one. I think it's great for Ashland. I know Steve's done a lot of work, and I want to congratulate you too. I know when I might have mentioned this in our last interview, but when you ran the marathon, one of your wins, I lived in Boston at 400 Comm Ave, the old Hotel Somerset, and I remember you watching you run by.
I loved running the marathon. I loved it. It was you know, sometimes it was tough, and I actually dropped out 3 times at Boston. And you know, some of the best runners in the world have tried and struck out, and that's the way it is. It's a hard sport, but it's a great sport, and the door is open today to all runners. And you have to qualify, though, for Boston. It's one of the most challenging events to get into, you know, because everyone seems to want to run Boston these days. But the history began here in Ashland, and it's a great connection. So everyone from this city and from this area can really be proud of the event, and I think these Ashland races are going to grow bigger and bigger in the years ahead, because this is a sport that's growing bigger and bigger and bigger, and it will never be a small sport ever again.
Well, thank you. You know, it's funny. When I was a kid, I ran indoor-outdoor track and cross country, so I know, and I've done a lot of road races when I was younger, so I know what it's like. And I'm so happy to see this such a large number of runners taking off here today.
Yeah, it's exciting, and you know, one thing is this is the sport that where people get their health and you get your weight down and you're in a better mood. We're meant to move. We really are. It might not be running. It might be biking or swimming or walking. But these are the ways to kind of keep your health, you know. Yeah. And we need to do that. It's very important. We all know that now.
Right. I want to thank you for taking a couple minutes to talk with us today.
Thank you a lot.
Okay, take care.
You see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, these broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Now, you did a fine job on the national anthem. What's your name?
I'm Sarah Kendall.
Sarah, are you from Ashland?
No, I'm from Southborough.
Southborough. Oh, right nearby. Yep.
Yeah.
But are you a runner by chance at all? Or?
I run. I'm not. I probably
Not
couldn't run one of these, but yeah, I do like to run. I do. Yeah.
That's good. You're a student of Berkeley?
Yes.
What year are you in there?
My sophomore year.
Sophomore year. Hi, I'm here with Ashland's Police Chief, Craig Davis. And Chief, you're not a marathon. You told me you do some running?
Just a little running, more jogging than running.
That's good. It's important. It keeps in shape.
Right, absolutely.
We interviewed Bill Rogers just a few minutes ago, in fact, and he was mentioning the importance to one's health today in running. And I think that, you know, even you probably know yourself, doing some cardiovascular exercises 4 or 5 times a week, is really helpful.
It does. It absolutely does. Makes you feel better. Helps keep the stress levels down.
I'm sure, yeah. Any of your members of your family jog at all, or are you the jogger of the family?
Yeah, all my children do. They're all athletes. They're all runners.
Well, that's really good. Well, you know, how are you enjoying your time in Ashland, by the way?
Very much, very much. Yeah, good. Great people. So you know, great community, very close knit. You know, the department has been fantastic, and I've noticed the community's been very supportive. So no, I'm enjoying it very much, and you know, met some fantastic folks here.
Very good. I want to thank you for taking a little time to talk with us today.
Anytime, Peter. Thank you.
Okay, welcome, Chief. Andrew, and your name?
Bruce.
Andrew and Bruce, you guys just finished running a half marathon. How do you feel in this weather?
It was great in this weather. It's nice because you can push yourself harder and it keeps you cool. It's good.
Yeah, it's a beautiful course out there. It was a lot of fun.
Are either you going to be running the Boston Marathon?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, that's good. You want to wish you well there. Now, you have a little accent. Where you from?
Australia, Sydney, Australia. Yeah.
Are you in school in Boston? You live here now?
I live here now. Yeah, I got my American citizenship a few years back, so I'm one of you guys now. So
Very
that's
nice, very nice. And
just down the road in Wellesley.
Wellesley.
Yeah.
And you pleased with your times today?
yeah, definitely. Given the hills, there's 3 fun hills on that course. Given the hills, yeah, definitely.
One really fun. one like that.
Yeah, you're like, oh, that's good.
Straight up.
Now, have you run marathons before?
Yes, yeah, run a few marathons before. Ran Boston last year.
Congratulations today on finishing.
Thank you.
You know, I've been amazed. Just watching the first 30, 40 runners. I'm going to guess at least 10 or 15 were women. They're running almost as fast as the men today.
Nice. That's exciting.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
Yeah. Where are you from?
Vermont.
Vermont. You got from Vermont.
Yeah.
Are you running the Boston Marathon too?
I'm not. I'm going to run the Shires of Vermont in May.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I know you got to be careful. Your run marathons only do a couple a year.
Exactly. Boston should be special this year, though.
Yeah.
From the South End in Boston.
From Waltham?
Waltham. Yep. And have either you run marathons before or half marathons?
Yeah, like a bunch. We're probably about 10 half marathons, 10 marathons.
Yeah. I've done 1 marathon and a bunch of half marathons.
Very good. Are you going to be running the Boston Marathon this year?
Yeah, I'm running Boston this year.
I'm not fortunate. Not enough practice this year.
No. What was the course like here today?
It was tough. I mean, the weather's not that bad. I didn't really feel the cold, but it was the hills. I mean, I think they called it the Green Street Monster on mile 10. That was a real killer.
I'm here at the half marathon finish line. I'm going to call it the mess hall. And one of the volunteers serving out the food take for the runners after the post-race ceremony is Ashland Selectman Steve Mitchell. Steve, what do you think of the race today?
Well, it's a great event. I think the weather has been, needless to say, a little brisk, but still, it's a festive atmosphere, and it's just another great event that that's been brought to Ashland. Just terrific. So we've had a real blooming of these events, and whether it's a marathon, it's the market, farmers market, but these are all good things.
You know, I'm surprised. I talked to several runners who said that the weather, wasn't as bad as one might think. It might be bad for the spectators who are freezing like myself, but they said once they got going, it was pretty easy out there. It was, didn't really, the wind at times bothered them a bit, but generally speaking, it didn't bother them.
Well, I'm sure as a runner, you and I standing around and waiting for the runners to come in, I mean, it's a different sense of the cold, but but good for them. They did a great job.
Since this race is kind of serving as a prep for the Boston Marathon, I was pleased to hear the runners talk about the hills and how tough the course was, particularly on Green Street, because, of course, in the marathon, the Boston Marathon, they have Heartbreak Hill. And but I think this has really proved to be a great training tool for marathon runners. Those training for Boston, and hopefully that'll serve as a great inducement for them to come back next year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think it's it's called the marathon prep, and I think it's an apt description. So I think this is a start of another tradition here in Ashland.
This race used to be run down the South Shore, so I think we can say the South Shore's loss is Ashland's gain.
Absolutely, and kudos to the Ashland Sporting Association for their work in bringing this another good event to the town.
Now let me ask you this: what's a good sandwich to eat today? What are the popular ones?
I have to. My pedigree is half Italian, so I'm going to go with the spicy Italian.
Spicy Italian. I like spicy food myself. Steve, thanks for taking time to talk to us.
Thanks, Peter. Pleasure as always.
Well, we're back from the marathon, and Mark, you looked a little cold there.
I've just thawed out today.
Okay,
actually.
Good thing. It's now Thursday, and that was Sunday. So a special thanks to the Connect Community Church. They did assist with some of the traffic, and they worked really well with the half marathon group to make sure that their needs and the half marathon needs were met. So it was nice to see that dialogue, and hopefully that'll continue moving forward. Because both institutes, the church and the half So we're going to talk about some of the things that are coming up here in Ashland, because as we find out, there's always something coming up and keeping people busy. So
Yes.
what do we have on our list today?
Well, I think we need to give a shout out to our own Christine Shearer, camera person here at WACA-TV, who has put together her own series called the Ashland Archives. And that's coming up on
Wednesday, March 26th at 6:30 at the Ashland Public Library is the first showing of her first show. And it looks like it's going to be a great documentary series about things that are here in Ashland. So congratulations to her on getting that going, and we look forward to seeing more.
That's right, and the first series is the inspiration for our own name around the clock. It's about
right.
Henry E. Warren, the man behind the clock.
Yes.
So get down to the library, make sure you see that. We saw the trailer. It's very interesting.
And we'll be sharing that with you as well.
All right. And then another big event, annual event around town supporting the schools is the AEFI, Ashland Education Foundation Incorporated Institute. We'll have to look that up. They'll be yelling at me, I'm sure. But that's coming up on Friday, April 11th.
Their big gala.
It's their annual gala, and tickets are limited now. So if you want to get tickets, you got to go online and see that. You can see their website down here below the table. But I believe you can start to bid now online, too.
I don't know if they have any items up yet, but on the website you can register to be able to bid for items online. Some of the items will only be online, and then some of them will be there at the gala as well. And they're starting something new where you'll be able to bid from your phone or your tablet at the gala, so that'll be interesting to see. What's interesting is they have moved it closer, so it's now at the Sheraton Tara in Framingham. They did that to be able to increase their numbers, but even at this point, tickets are limited, so if you haven't gotten yours yet, go and check it out now, and it should be fun. I know our town manager's going, I know Senator Spilka will be attending, so it should be fun. It's always a fun event.
Well, we've shared a table last few years,
a couple times,
and they do a great job. The food's always good. The wine and beer there, but they have
music.
Excellent sponsored gifts. So you know, if you want to bid on things, there's some real nice stuff there. So it's
actually,
a great
as I'm thinking about it, the necklace that I'm wearing was purchased last year.
There you go.
It was donated by Lori Tosti from the school committee, and
of course, all the money goes to the district,
to the Ashland Education Foundation.
Drive technology programs, et cetera. There.
And the Teachers Grant Program that they offer, where teachers can submit grant requests and proposals, and then they get funding to do great things with our students.
So it's a fun night out, goes to a good cause. April 11th, Friday night at the Sheraton Tara. Don't miss it.
AEFI, Ashland Education Foundation, to get tickets.
All right. And what else do we have coming up?
Well, a little further out, we have the marathon, the Boston Marathon, coming through on April 19th. And then there's other events, you know, through...
Following week is the State of the Town Address.
State of the Town.
On the 25th.
No, it's actually before it. It's on the 15th.
Oh, the 15th.
April 15th is the State of the Town Address. Then the marathon is on Marathon Monday.
That's correct.
And
we'll be back before that to come up with other stuff.
We will.
All right, so Yolanda and I will be right back with our final second.
People think that Henry Warren invented the electric clock. Henry Warren did not invent the electric clock. What he invented was the first electric clock that kept proper time.
He was brilliant. He could look at something and see the solution. Most people have to work towards the solution. He could see it.
On May 21st, 1872, Henry Ellis Warren was born in Boston, Massachusetts.
When I was growing up, I just remember Henry as always wearing powder blue sneakers. And, you know, as a kid, that struck me as odd that, you know, a very distinguished gentleman wearing a suit would be wearing powder blue sneakers, but that's what he did. And he had this great, probably 1950, 52 Oldsmobile that was powder blue.
I think he lived very simply for a person that was so really famous, you know, famous in his time.
He was clearly blessed with the intellect that only held by a few people.
He knew how to get things done, and he knew how to solve problems.
Well, welcome back. Yolanda and I would like to thank you for joining us once again on Around the Clock. Special thanks go out to Brian Garrigan, Ashland High School Head Guidance Counselor, as well as Roberta Suleman, the Chair of the Ashland Open Space and Recreation Committee. I hope you enjoyed their interviews. And thanks again to our friends over at the Community Center for hosting that excellent corned beef and cabbage dinner on St. Patrick's Day, as well as the great work done by Senator Spilker, Steve Mitchell, and Ed Carr, Executive Director at the MWRTA, providing the new bus van for our seniors. And Yolanda, you're going to wrap us up with final thoughts.
I am. I just have, I'd like to reach out to the Van Buskirk and the Bennett families. They are two families here in our community. The Bennetts, most people know, Claudia Bennett is the vice principal at the Mendez School. Her daughter Gloria has gone through our school system, was teaching here in the schools for a while, dealt with a serious medical issue starting in December. And this community has come out very strong to support them, which is one of the great things about Ashland, is that we support people when something goes wrong, and we're just there for them. So they had a great Zumbathon back on March 15th. They have another event coming up, though, on Sunday, March 30th. It's a hockey game. I guess Jason Von Buskirk is a hockey player. They're reaching out. They're having a great hockey game at the Loring Arena. Tickets are $4, and there's also going to be a silent auction just to help the family with the medical expenses. Gloria is improving, so that's been nice. I talked to a couple people about her, and they are seeing improvement. She was expected to be coming home shortly if she's not home already. So if you're not doing anything on Sunday, March 30th, you want to go see a fun hockey game at Loring Arena, we'd love for you to support them. And just our best wishes to Gloria and Claudia and the rest of the family, and our thoughts are with you. So thanks again for watching Around the Clock, and we hope to see you after our next show.